Hi guys, it is Aoife from Fred Weasley Died Laughing and I'm here to do my weekly wrap up. I got 5 books read this week. The first book I finished this week was just left over from the 2 readathons I took part in the week before, which was Books for the Brave, the Disney Read Along, and I was reading Little Women by Louisa May Alcott for both of those readathons, and I finally finished this I think on Sunday or Monday. And for anyone who doesn't know the story of Little Women, we are following 4 sisters who are the March sisters and just kind of the different things that they are going through. They're living in Civil War era America, I think. They are dealing with their father being away with the army, and they're obviously always worrying about him. And then the 2 oldest girls, Meg and Jo, are kind of thinking about their future, and then Amy and Beth are kind of in a hurry to grow up as well. And this book mainly just follows all their friendships. Their friendship with the boy who lives near them called Laurie, he's really good friends with Jo, and their relationship with their mother, and it's just a very sweet book. So I do have to say that I actually think I prefer the movie to the book, and I think it might be because I saw the movie first, and it's just one of those things where I just loved the movie so much, and the movie had such an emotional impact on me that the book just didn't quite live up to it for me. I do think maybe I will like the second book better than this one, because there were some parts of this that I did enjoy the story overall. I found the story, like, it's lovely and simple in that it is about these sisters and their friendship and just the different things they're going through as like girls growing up, and some of the limitations they're feeling, things to do with kind of the society around them and wealth and privilege and the things they can't do because they're not that rich anymore, even though they aren't actually like really poor the way some people would be poor at that time, but they're poor in the way rich people are poor, in, if you get what I mean. But I did find myself in some parts of this book, I just didn't really care so much about the story, and I definitely didn't care as much about the characters as I thought I would. So I'm hoping maybe in the next book I would just like them all a little bit better. Like, the book was fine, it just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I do think it was really well written, but again, it didn't give me that kind of emotional impact that I wanted, and I do think it's just because I watched the movie first and I loved the movie so much. The next book I read was a NetGalley book that was Ashes by Christopher de Vinck. This is a book set in World War II, just at the start of World War II, as Germany is invading Poland, and then eventually he invades Belgium. And in this one you're following an 18-year-old girl called Simone Leon, I think that's how you pronounce her name, and she has a best friend called Hava who is Jewish, and Simone's father is this really well respected general in the army, and she has kind of always felt like that there's no way that the Germans would ever invade Belgium, that they, you know, that they can stand up, and the kind of war wouldn't actually happen on her doorstep. She might read about it and worry about it a little bit, but she doesn't actually ever believe that it will actually happen. And then one day, obviously the Germans do invade Belgium, and she ends up having to flee for her life. Her father is away somewhere, he's not with her, and she's completely on her own, and she ends up having to flee Brussels with her friend Hava, who can't find her family. And obviously Hava is in a lot of danger because she is Jewish, and the 2 girls end up fleeing kind of towards Dunkirk eventually, and it's kind of the story just about their friendship mostly, and then about Simone's kind of, I guess, experience of the war. This one I was hoping I would really love, because it kind of gave off vibes of like something around like kind of like The Nightingale by Kirsten Hanna, which I really enjoyed, and I really do think that the writing of this was really good, and I do feel like you could tell the author really wanted to do justice to the story and the people who lived in World War II, the people who had to flee for their lives, the Jewish people who were murdered during World War II and the Holocaust. And I feel like you could definitely feel that in the writing, and I could definitely feel the good intentions in the writing and the good intentions with the story and why the story exists and why the writer wanted to write this story. However, the story just fell quite flat for me. I just feel like there was a lot of build up towards the point where they're actually fleeing Brussels, and there's a lot of build up towards like with Simone and Hava's friendship and why they became best friends, and I did enjoy the female friendship there and the strong sisterly bond between them as friends and best friends, and the kind of the innocence that they still had even at 18 years old, and the way they were like obsessed with like Clark Gable and, you know, other Hollywood stars and singers and stuff like that, and it was really sweet in that way. But also I kind of felt like there were times where Simone felt like a real Mary Sue type character, a little bit of a plain Jane. There was nothing particularly special or extraordinary about her. And then on the other hand, there was times Hava was just a complete manic pixie dream girl. She was almost too much for me at times, and I found parts of her character and personality quite unbelievable. The way she would just kind of go on about things and some of the things that she would do, I didn't buy into. I felt like the part where they were actually fleeing, and then kind of near the end of the war, and Simone's experiences near the end of the war with Hava, I just felt like it was kind of glimpsed upon, and it didn't really get the amount of attention it probably deserved. And there was just something about this book. It just lacked, I think it was well written, it just lacked that fire. It lacked something. It was very one-dimensional in a way. And I think I've read some historical fiction that's just been so good, particularly World War II historical fiction, that's been so good, and it's just really buried itself inside of me and inside of my heart, that I love it so much, that this one just couldn't live up to any of those ones. But I think for people who are well versed in reading historical fiction, particularly World War II era historical fiction, this one could end up being disappointing. So yeah, I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. It was a disappointing read for me, unfortunately. And then I joined pretty much like the rest of BookTube in deciding to reread the entire Hunger Games trilogy this week. I had kind of been on the fence about whether I wanted to reread these books. These are some of my favourite books of all time. I absolutely adore these books. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to reread them and not before I got the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. But then when I ordered it, I decided, feck it, I'm just going to read them. I really want to be I really want to remember as much of the story as possible before going into the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, so I can really see the important things in the prequel and how it relates to the later books. So I decided to do that, and obviously I started with The Hunger Games, then Catching Fire, and then Mockingjay. And I just love these books. I think there's just so many amazing moments in all of them. The writing, I feel like it is one of these YA, I just feel like people think kind of poorly about it because it's YA fiction and it's one of these YA phenomenon fictions where with the love triangle and all of that, and it's so much more than that. It's just this really amazing gaze on war and the effects of war and what war can do to you, and a lot of it is through the eyes of this teenage girl who was just plucked from obscurity and put into this situation that she had no control over, and she just ended up being this figurehead without really meaning to. It might seem kind of unrealistic in a way, but actually it's not, because how many girls and how many teenage figures have we seen lately like become famous because of things that are completely out of their control, such as the teenagers who survived the Stoneman Douglas High shooting and ended up leading this amazing kind of fight for gun laws, the change in gun laws, and the amazing speeches they made, and they did really become these like figureheads for this movement. And then also people like Greta Thunberg, who has become this face for climate change, and we see teenagers plucked, and just through different actions that they've made, it starts completely out of their control, and then they decide to take that control for themselves because it's already happening in the world. And yeah, that's kind of like, I can definitely see how a lot happens to Katniss in these books in terms of becoming this figurehead, and it's just so interesting to read. And I just love these books. I could talk about these books forever. I could literally fight the fight for Peeta so much, and how Gale is just the worst person in the world. I could definitely do that because I've always been a staunch Peeta supporter, and yeah, I just really dislike Gale, and I just think he's a horrible character. And yeah, I could just continue on like that forever, but I don't want. So I absolutely love these books. 5 out of 5 stars for all of them. I really enjoyed rereading all of them. Did have one injury during them, and I'm very sad. My poor Catching Fire. I don't know what happened, but yeah, it needs to go into book hospital or something. So yeah, I'm gonna need to get like new copies of this or something, because like it's literally falling apart. Yeah, absolutely loved reading these, and I cannot wait to get onto A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is what I'm going to be reading next. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave me all your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.